My name is James, and I am a cancer research oncologist. That is not the same thing as being a hospice doctor, but I have watched hundreds of people lose the fight against cancer, and so maybe in my own way, I have been a hospice doctor for 30 years. I have seen the full range of how humans respond to the knowledge that their body is turning against them. I have seen denial, rage, bargaining, resignation, acceptance. I have seen all of it. I have watched people exhaust their savings on clinical trials that offered 1% improvement. I have listened to people beg for one more treatment when there was nothing left to treat. I have also seen that no amount of science, no amount of good intentions, no amount of cutting-edge treatment will save everyone. Some people are meant to die. That is a fact that lives in my chest like a stone, and it is a fact I have never told anyone, because to say it out loud is to admit that everything we do is ultimately futile. I was not a good sick person. I think that surprises people who know me, because I am the one who is supposed to know about illness, who is supposed to have perspective, who is supposed to accept the natural order of things. But when the pathology came back, and the slides showed adenocarcinoma in my pancreas, I did exactly what I tell my patients not to do. I panicked. I raged. I spent a full day looking up survival statistics and making myself into a dead man before I had even started treatment. The chemotherapy made me vomit blood. The radiation made my skin peel like a sunburned tourist. The experimental drug caused neuropathy so severe that holding a pen became an act of willpower. And still, it was not working. I got scans every 6 weeks, and each one showed the tumor growing, changing shape, mutating. It was as if my own body had become a living metaphor for how powerless I was, how all of my training and all of my knowledge amounted to nothing when the disease decided to win. Then came the infection. It was supposed to be a small thing, a standard complication. I had experienced infections before, but this one was different. This one did not respond to antibiotics. This one moved through my body like an invading army, and within 3 days I was septic. Within 4 days I was in the ICU. Within 5 days my blood pressure was dropping, and my organ systems were failing. I remember lying in that hospital bed, and a colleague came in to tell me that I had maybe 12 hours. He said this with as much gentleness as anyone had ever told me I was going to die. It did not help. Gentleness does not change facts. That night, alone in the dark ICU, my heart simply stopped. I did not black out. I did not fade. Instead, I was suddenly somewhere else, and the transition was so smooth and so complete that I could not even remember having been in the hospital, even though intellectually I knew I had been there just a moment before. I was standing at a crossroads. I am not using this as a metaphor. I was literally standing at a place where 2 roads diverged in a forest that I knew and did not know at the same time. The forest was the one I played in as a child, but it was also vast, ancient, infinite. The left road was dark, descending into shadow and mist. The right road was lit, climbing toward a light that was not the sun but something better than the sun. And I understood that I could choose. But before I could move, a figure appeared on the right path. It was my father. My father had died when I was 43, and he had been dead for 17 years. But he was not young here. He was exactly as he had been in the days before his final illness, when he was at peace, when he knew he was going home. He looked at me with an expression I had not seen since childhood. He looked at me with the kind of love that has no conditions, no reservations, no disappointment. He said nothing, but I could hear him. He said that I had been afraid my whole life, afraid of disease, afraid of death, afraid of not being able to fix everything, afraid that if I was not always working, always fighting, always proving myself to be useful, then I was worthless. He showed me all the moments I had been afraid, all the patients I had treated with a kind of cold competence because I could not allow myself to feel their suffering, because feeling it would mean admitting that I could not save them. He showed me that this coldness had become a wall, and that the wall was the problem, not the disease. And then the light itself moved closer. And it was not a light that was coming toward me. It was a light that was revealing what had always been true. I understood that healing is not the same as curing. A person can be healed spiritually while their body is still dying. A person can be dying and be completely whole at the same time. I had been so focused on curing bodies that I had forgotten that what people really needed was healing, and that healing comes not from fighting the disease, but from accepting what is. Healing comes from love. It comes from forgiveness. It comes from letting go. My father opened his hand and showed me a path that I could take if I wanted to. It was the path I was looking at, the light-filled path. And I knew that if I took it, I would not come back. The peace in that moment was absolute. It was like finally being able to put down something I had been carrying for my whole life. But then I remembered my daughter. I remembered her face from my hospital bed. I remembered that she still needed me, and I thought about how much worse it would be if I chose this than if I fought my way back. And I made the choice, the hard choice, the choice that meant returning to the body, returning to the pain, returning to the fear. I woke up in the ICU with every alarm screaming. I was alive. The infection had broken. The fever had dropped. The doctors called it a miracle. I called it a failure at first. I was furious at myself for not having the courage to stay. But my daughter came in the next day, and she held my hand. And I realized that the gift was not the vision. The gift was that I had been shown what mattered, and then given the chance to actually live it, instead of just learning it. I have never gone back to the same kind of medicine. The cancer is still there. It is in remission now for the third time. But we all know what remission means. It means waiting. And instead of waiting in fear, I wait in peace. Because I have seen what is on the other side of this life, and it is not something to be afraid of. I have sat with the fear. I have held it. And I have realized that fear is just the mind trying to protect itself from the unknown. But the unknown is not dangerous. The unknown is just the next chapter of the same story. My father showed me that story, and my daughter continues to show me that story every day when she looks at me and sees me as I truly am, not as the broken man in a hospital bed, but as the consciousness that wears that body. That is what healing means to me now. I spend time now with my family. I touch their faces. I listen to their stories. I hug my patients instead of just giving them bad news. I have become the kind of doctor I should have been all along. Someone who treats the whole person, not just the disease. Someone who understands that sometimes the most important medicine is telling someone it is okay to let go. Last month I had a patient, a woman named Susan, who had exhausted all treatment options. She came to me expecting more bad news, more statistics. Instead, I sat down and I told her what I had learned. I told her that dying is not failure, that it is the natural completion of a life, that the real question is not how long you live, but how you live the time you have. She cried, and not from fear, but from relief. Relief that she did not have to fight anymore. That permission, that single conversation, changed her entire experience. She spent her final 3 months with her family instead of in hospitals, and when she died, everyone who knew her said she had died at peace, and that peace had changed them too. I spent 30 years believing that healing meant survival. That understanding cost me my certainty and, briefly, my life. I wish someone had shown me a different map before any of that. A map that included where love goes when the body stops responding to treatment. That is why I put together a short guide that goes deeper into what healing actually means when the cure does not come. What the dying taught me about love. What my father showed me at the edge of the path I almost took. And why the last conversation I had in that light changed how I practice medicine entirely. The link is right below this video, because it is all one journey. And the journey is good.